All right, everyone, we should be live. Not 100% sure. Of course, as always, we have to make sure we're actually live on other platforms. I'll see the Twitch chats coming in, so that's easy to check. On Rumble, however, you have to wait like 30 seconds, start the video, refresh it. A little bit different. So I'll make sure that I'm actually live over on Rumble as well. Yes, I see I'm obviously live on Twitch. Crystal Mayo with the first chat from Twitch of the day saying, hey. Well, hay is for horses, better for cows. It's very expensive because Biden doesn't understand economics. Doesn't have to rhyme. Neither does he have any reason. We'll make sure that we're actually live here. It's trying to collate it. Yeah, okay, we're live on Rumble. Trip Boom over on Rumble claiming first. I don't like first posting. HM, what do you smell like? At the moment, probably energy drinks more than anything else. I haven't showered in a couple of days. You know, when you have a newborn, time can be a constraint. So later on, in order to not be a dirty pirate, in order to look less like a madman or a communist, at some point I've got to force myself to take a shower. We'll wait while a few more people come in. Remember, I will be doing Superchats, so don't worry, I'll get to those all at some point around 45, 50 minutes. Of course, I ask people to throttle it back because typically there's too many of them to get through. We do have a lot of news to go through, though, and that's why I'm doing yet another live stream. I'm probably going to be doing these more often as the midterms approach because we're getting a lot more political news, a lot more poll analysis. We have one hell of a doozy today, which is I'm going to be making a video tomorrow about it too, just a one-off for people who can't make the live stream today. It's apocalyptic for the Democrats, what I'm seeing right now for the U.S. House. Not so much in the Senate. I think the Republicans will probably take it, but it'll be by a seat, maybe 2 seats, unless there's a sea change right now. In the House, oh my God, it hasn't been this apocalyptic in decades. I mean, you'd have to go back at least to the Tea Party surge to find something that's on the same order. And yes, Tim, we will be covering that as well. I'll go through these first few Super Chats really quick while people climb aboard. I want to get like, 500-600 people in before I start going through the news. Spider Eternal, growing blue banana plants. I'm excited. Ever try? I didn't know there were blue bananas. They're probably tasty. I like plantains. Fried plantains. I made those once and people were complaining that I used too much oil. And I'm like, no. I learned this from someone who was actually from Africa. Do not criticize my plantain cooking. They're supposed to be greasy. It's the whole point. Tim W., thoughts on the new January 6th hearing? We can go through January 6th. I did make a video this morning on the subject. It's a farce. It's just a rehash of the same crap that we've been seeing anyway. And effectively, it's nothing more than a political Hail Mary, just like focusing on guns. The only reason why guns, which is something the left largely has lost on, they've lost 90% of their support on this issue. The reason why you would put that forward right before midterms, though, as a political issue is if you failed on everything else more. So if they've got a lopsided like 55-45 disadvantage on guns, that's still less of a disadvantage than they have on the economy. Certainly on the border, on crime and on things of that nature, increasingly on Ukraine. The Biden administration has some problems. But yeah, it's a Hail Mary. We're not seeing anything new. We're just seeing a rehash of what we already saw. The Styx Hexen Flathead. People have accused me of being a little screwy. Oh, God. I thought I was the one that was supposed to make the dad jokes. Kitty Clash over on Twitch. Thank you for having your stream on multiple platforms. I think it's really cool and helps you reach a broader audience. Yes, make sure to share out the Twitch link there because the actual usage of that is much smaller than on YouTube or on Rumble, certainly. I would like to have a bigger Twitch audience. It's a pretty good site. I did get a warning from someone earlier saying that I had to like ban certain people and moderate chat more because apparently you can get in trouble for what other people say on the platform. And I was like, I don't give a shit. If I get banned on Twitch, whatever. I don't have a large enough audience there to care. Ron Sets, thoughts on the 2000 Mules documentary? Well, we are live on YouTube, so I can't weigh in with my honest thoughts on that. But interesting. Definitely something you should watch. Hint, hint. So go find a link to it. Stephen13 on Twitter, Ashley Babbitt is trending. Liberals are celebrating her death. They support or ignore political violence. How do people still vote Dem? Well, I mean, they're celebrating the fact that a Supreme Court justice was almost assassinated the other day. So it doesn't surprise me in the least. Really, when you look at the repository of actual bigotry, actual hate, and actual violence in the United States, it comes mainly from the left. If it's not gang violence related, mostly it's leftoids. They're the ones burning Wendy's. They're the ones smashing out windows. They're the ones vandalizing homes and so forth. It's not the Proud Boys. It's not someone with a MAGA hat. And Jussie Smollett it over and over again. It's leftoids, really, when you think about it. I wonder why so many people are buying guns right now. It's not just because of the Democrats' fruitless efforts to pass gun control that are DOA in the Senate. By the way, they've done this before. Some people are worried. They're like, oh my God, they're actually coming for the guns this time. Dude, they tried this after Sandy Hook. They tried this a million times before. The Stick-Texan baby. Formula prices are making me scream at night. Actually, she screams more during the day, often prompted by the cats. The cat, Yana is a rolling terror, actually. She attacks her sister, makes her sister yowl in pain. She's a grumpy cat, which they used to sleep together, so it's unfortunate that they're no longer friendly with each other. And then it wakes the baby up, and then the baby wakes me up. Isn't life wonderful? Miguel Barrera, your opinion on Joseph Cotto and him supporting Dr. Mehmet Oz for Pennsylvania Senate. I think he once tweeted that Oz would be a good Trump successor. I don't think that Mehmet Oz is going to ever be in an executive position. I don't care if he wins in his race at all, honestly. He's barely better than the Democrat that's running against him, won by a few hundred votes, actually, over McCormick. I think it was a tactical blunder for Trump to promote him, actually. So, I mean, if I was there in Pennsylvania, I just wouldn't vote in that race. I'd vote for Mickey Mouse. I'd write in third party. Glow in the dark. Do you know who Ray Epps is? I've heard the name. I don't recall exactly who that is, however. Joe Cool, Clanker here from Connecticut, who is the chairman of my town's Board of Finance. Thank you for the constant white pills. Stay strong, fellow clankers. Make sure to lower the tax rate if you can. Do whatever you may to sabotage the establishment. Josh Eternal, are the cats jealous of the baby? No, they get along with the baby very well. They just don't get along with each other. That's the big problem. Z112, on top of the DEF shortage for big trucks, have you heard of the diesel motor oil shortage? It's going to make the supply chain much worse and poorly thought out if you shut down pipelines and refineries, also drilling permits. I didn't know there was a shortage of diesel fuel. I know that the, what's the national average now? 5.7, like 5.70 a gallon or something like that. I wonder why the food costs more. Happy fucking 4th of July, people, from the Joe Biden family. Stephen 13, why do regular liberals condone the violence? They don't want to be called racist, usually. It really just boils down to that. It's very, very Neanderthal-esque. Anyway, we're going to go through some news because we've got a lot of it. What was I going to do first here? Oh, yeah, we were going to do first, there is a pinned comment. If you're on YouTube, definitely take that link because the White House uploaded a video the other day and they did not close the comments. And it's Biden basically spurging and talking to, I don't know, some industrialist. I can't remember exactly the one. It's been massively ratioed and it's universally negative if you look at the comments, like the replies to the video. And that's the truth of how people react to the Beijing-Biden administration. Usually they close comments and the like-dislike ratio and stuff is partially hidden now on YouTube. And there's a reason for this. It's because Biden is not liked. Biden is not approved of. Even the approval polling that we have, which shows him as the least liked president since Jimmy Carter at this point in his admin, and technically a little bit lower than Carter at this point. Even that is due to cherry-picked polls. If you adjust for real polling and get rid of the ones that only sample adults, he's even deeper in the shitter right now. He's not approved of. He has lost basically everything. He has accomplished nothing, and nobody likes him. There are some Democratic partisans that support him because he has a D after his name. That's basically all he's holding on to. Even the leftoids complain about him day and night. Jank, Buffalo Chunk Man, even he complains about Biden, arguably more than he complains about the GOP at this point. Glow in the dark, Epps is a January 6th, but is not being charged. Oh, yes, he was there on January 6th. Yeah, that's where I know him from. I don't know anything further about him, though. 661 in Central California says, let's go on YouTube. Yeah, It's bad. Vermont, I think, just surpassed $5 a gallon. At what point are people not going to do the travel and tourism thing? And if they do, they're going to fall behind on their home payments and shit like that. People actually make dumb mistakes like that because they're fucking retarded. Anyway, we're going to go to the RCP page. Again, links in the description to everything that I'm referring to here. You can take those and also pinned link if you're on YouTube. That's to the White House video. Cross-platform, you should go there. And make sure to leave some spicy comments for the Biden admin while they have the comments open. People will see that. Leftoids will go there to hear what Führer Joe Biden has said, and then they'll see the response. And it'll be a little bit different from what they're used to because, of course, the legacy media gives glowing appraisal. Now, on to Battle for the House 2022. Current House, 220 Democrats, 208 Republicans, and 7 vacancies. And we've got the full map here showing the races and where they lean. Lean GOP, lean Dem, toss-up. What do you see here? The Republicans could take the House of Representatives by a slightly larger majority than the Democrats currently hold it, even if the Democrats win every one of the 32 toss-up races. That is, if we assume no outsized turnout, the Democrats don't suffer from voter apathy. By the way, that will lead us into the Boudin damage control article that we'll separately be covering. If 100% of the Democratic incumbent races that aren't in that category go for the Dems, and they win all of the toss-up races, the GOP still has 3 more seats in the House than the Democrats currently have, leading to a narrow majority. 218 seats needed for a majority. 223 at least lean towards the GOP. Again, there are 32 toss-up races. The best guess, because if we look at, I'm going to analyze this seriously. My best guess would be that roughly half of those seats, so out of the 32, 16 seats, would go to the Republicans, giving them a sweeping majority. It's a shellacking election if that happens. Not quite a complete landslide, but it is a red wave. It is a shellacking. It will be considered significant. And the reason why is this, and it could go more for the GOP. It's more likely to go for them more than for the Democrats. And I'll tell you why. Most of those toss-up races, the Democrats do have the incumbent advantage. That at least slightly offsets, potentially, depending on the seat, depending on the approval of the incumbent, of course, it potentially offsets slightly the advantage that the GOP has from the congressional ballot. They're running about 3.5 points ahead in the generic ballot. I'll tell you why it's more likely to go further for the GOP than a 50-50 break. And again, that would still be a shellacking by the GOP against the Democrats. They would still handily take the House. They'd have a massive majority. Biden would be dead in the water at that point. The Democrats wouldn't be able to pass a budget, for example. And Biden's administration would be officially, it'd be a lame duck administration, which is the best thing for it, really. Here's why I think more of those seats will actually go for the GOP. It's not because of the congressional ballot. That polling goes up and down. It's because of turnout. And again, this leads us directly into the Boudin damage control. The Democrats right now on that particular issue, again, link in the description, you can read through their editorial here. Their damage control on the San Francisco race, where the DA, the progressive far-left DA Boudin, was ousted by a group of people that by and large were far-left. Democrats in San Francisco, it's like 75% liberals. They're saying it's just because of low turnout. So voter apathy. My goodness, that may sound good as an excuse for why this particular socialist DA was ousted. If that carries through in the midterms, if you're right, if your damage control is correct, it's somehow worse. It's much worse than a rejection of the far left. How many of these seats that are in the toss-up category, the Democrat is far left? Only a few of them. For the most part, the far left seats are held by Democrats that are either not up or are safe in blue areas that the Republicans can't really do anything about. It's the centrists. They're the ones that are in the toss-up races. If you're claiming voter apathy, and that apathy trickles over into the midterms, I know that there will be a Roe decision. There will be the DOA gun control in the Senate gets shot down. If you have apathy among Democratic voters in the midterms, if you have even slightly lower turnout, let's say it's not even a point, it's a half a point, that probably throws half a dozen of those toss-up races to the GOP. Are you crazy? That's even worse. Somehow they're excuse making for Boudin, and I'm assuming that it comes from a far leftist. I'll look into them and see if that's the case. I'm just going to hazard a guess here. Somehow that would make the situation worse than if they just admit, hey, Boudin was rejected due to the non-tough on crime policies. That leftoidism was the problem. If leftoidism is your problem, the GOP probably takes half the toss-up races because, again, you have the incumbency for most of the Democratic seats. You have the turnout differential for the GOP. They sort of cancel each other out. You'll get close to 50-50. Maybe someone takes 20 of those seats at a maximum. GOP, Democrats, whatever. The GOP more or less controls the House. It's either by a larger or more narrow margin. It's a comfortable margin regardless. That would be what would happen. If you're talking about voter apathy, then those lean Dem races, of which there are 12, they could potentially be toss-ups too. And the Democrats are targeting a bunch of Republican seats. Some of these only lean GOP. Well, if there's a turnout differential of only a couple of points, they lose all of them. They don't gain anything. There is no offset. The Republicans could end up at the end of the day with 260, at least 250. Under such a circumstance, it would be more than a red wave. It would be more than a shellacking. It would be an apocalypse for the Democrats. I hope this happens, and not just to stop Joe Biden, because I'm not a partisan, I'm not a conservative, I'm not a Republican. I hope that happens because then hopefully the Democrats before 2024 oust Biden, they get rid of the Kamalas, they get rid of the AOCs, they do some soul searching, and they return to some semblance of being a sane and rational party. It's not likely because they might not do that anyway, but it's possible. The possibility won't be there, though, if they only lose narrowly. Jesse Miller at the Crow's Nest. Sticks, Crowder, Salty Cracker, and John Burke is a regular panel show. Special guest varies. Just do it, man. Yeah, I do some things with on a Salty Cracker show or something. Crowder's funny. Some people have a problem with him. I don't exactly know why. I think he's hilarious. Did you see that one that he did with the YouTube Christmas Carol a couple of years ago? And it was all a satire of YouTube censorship. I thought that was one of the best things he made. That and when he pretended to be Zhank and he crashed the Young Turks panel there at some fucking convention. That was 6-7 years ago. That was probably one of the funniest things I've seen in my life. I thought it was great. Z112. There is a diesel shortage, but I'm referring to the actual motor oil that lubricates the engine. There's only 2 companies that have as the adjective to the diesel motor oil, and they were both shut down for some time. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. I know literally nothing about engineering and shipping and stuff like that beyond the logistics side of it, but I'll take your word for it. It wouldn't surprise me. They're doing it on purpose at some point. Steph Colonel, average gas price in Russia is $3.18 USD a gallon. Well, they've got, they didn't attack their own oil industry like Biden did, so. Even that, though, sounds rather high considering the much lower average income in Russia. So, yeah, it has to be lower or no one will buy it. Testicular Fortitude Man. Hey, keep up the good work. Check out my book, Contemporary Pagan Holy Text. All right, there's a pitch for a book called Contemporary Pagan Holy Text. Or Contemporary Pagan, and then it is a holy text. I don't know which exactly you mean because that's lowercase at the end. Troyamunga 000, how do you feel about Wendigo? I think I actually might have already done an occult video on the topic. I think it's a cautionary tale. Interesting one, though. Check out bedtime stories sometime. Gary Jean, Sticks, what do you think about the ATF's attempted pistol brace ban? Didn't that get shot down already by the courts and ruled unlawful by a federal court? I think it did. It's a stupid idea. But to tell the truth, if I get a tactical pistol, I don't want the brace at all anyway because it looks cooler without it. It's not the sort of gun that you're using for necessarily being effective for any purpose. It's just aesthetically pleasing. I always thought that they looked really cool, and so I want one. There are a bunch of different models I'm looking at. AR pistol, check Scorpion. Yeah, fuck the brace. Who cares? Steady Eddie 1983, left. 18-year-olds' brains are undeveloped. Raise age on guns. Also left. Lower voting age to 16. Let children decide on gender surgeries. Yeah, it is kind of interesting. You're capable of getting a life-changing surgery or voting at a young age, but they won't trust you with a firearm. That's slightly odd now, isn't it? Especially when you're a member of the militia at 18. You can't be denied a firearm. It's already unconstitutional. We're just awaiting court decisions. David Couch, watched American Graffiti again. I had forgotten a one-semester Middlebury dropout was a major plot point. I don't know anything about American Graffiti. Never watched it, I think. My second nephew, Dems January 6th thrashing reeks of desperation. Yeah, it's a desperate Hail Mary. They don't have anything else to talk about, so they're putting that on primetime television for the foreseeable future. So that Liz Cheney, who is not even a member of the Democratic Party, can gloat constantly about her great achievements. Her main achievement is being Dick Cheney's daughter. What a wonderful thing in life. Salty Keldian, if you had to attend a church, would it be metal church? I wouldn't attend a church at all. I don't even care if they have heavy metal. Andy Vandalind, great work, man. What do you think of Candace Owens and the Rubin Report? I think that they're fine. I don't agree with them on every issue. I think Candace Owens is reasonably sane. As far as the Rubin Report, a little bit more hit and miss, I will admit. By the way, over 2,000 people watching now between YouTube and Twitter. I don't know how many exactly on Rumble. Yeah, over 300 on Rumble. So that puts us close to 8 Biden loser units, actually, already. And it's only 8 a.m. in the Eastern time zone. Wash, no comment needed. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. By the way, if I have to go off for a moment at any point, like if I mute it and I wander to the side, it's because of mail. I'm expecting a really, really great package, which is of water chestnuts. It's a sort of a marshy root crop, sort of like a marsh potato, I suppose you could say. Common, sliced up in stir fries in certain Asian dishes. One of my favorites as a kid, can't get it anywhere around here. There was one vendor on bowl.com where you could get it. So I got a 4-pack of them. Liz helped me buy those. I can't wait to eat those in a stir fry. You have no idea. I haven't eaten them in almost 10 years, I think. Yeah. Krista Gomez, tuned in a little late, so I apologize if you already talked about it. What do you think about Biden passing some bill to increase ethanol in gas? It's a desperate pitch. It's a way to slightly lower the price. The problem is the price keeps rising. And that's because the price of everything keeps rising. It's a death spiral what we're on. We could end up in a recession in the next couple of months. We may already be in a recession. Just to be clear, we may already be there. We just have to wait till Q2 economic news comes out. That probably won't be till, I don't know, late July or August or something like that. We're probably in a recession. I can't wait to see what Biden's polling does when that's finally announced. And I can't wait to see the copium huffing from his remaining fans. Gary Jean, everyone should join the FPC, GOA, and NAGR. I support the GOA myself, Gun Owners of America. Good people, better than the NRA. The NRA are cucks these days. 20 years from now, the NRA will hold up a BB pistol and say from my cold dead hands, you're not allowed to mandate that I can't carry 30 shots in my pellet pistol. Rock Sicklinhammer 999, smack that all on the floor. Smack that, give me some more. Smack that till you get sore. Smack that. Oh, I get the reference. That song was on the radio goddamn constantly when I was younger. Fuck that song, by the way. Not a fan. Yeah, so next link in the description. We'll cover this before we go back to the sorry, I made myself laugh. To the super chats here. Editorial. This is from the San Francisco Chronicle, so far left. No, California didn't just send a message on crime, only voter apathy. Again, this segues into the midterm issue. You're looking at a situation where the Republicans don't need any of the toss-up races in order to take the House by a slightly higher margin than the Democrats currently have it. By the way, at the end of the night, they'll be really frustrated if that's all they take. If they just take the House by that margin, they'll be sad, and the Democrats will claim it's some sort of great victory. People rejected the message of MAGA and hate. If voter apathy is a thing, and this is San Francisco, so this is a far-left, highly Democratic Party-held stronghold, one of the most blue parts of the entire country. If you have low turnout, voter apathy, they're claiming, according to this here, what does that mean for all of those toss-up races? You might lose every one of them. Can you imagine if the Republicans take all 34 toss-up races? It goes well beyond it. I think that's bigger than the Tea Party surge. That would be, I think, the second largest gain for a midterm House race in, what, half a century at least? It'd be bigger than the Tea Party. It'd be bigger than any of the other shellackings that you've seen throughout political history and living memory, arguably, or at least very close to it. It would be a sound rebuke of Bidenomics, of Biden's policies. At the end of the day, the left is already setting up to blame such a loss, which they know there will be a loss. They just don't know how big it will be. They're already ready to blame it on Biden just not doing enough of the things that we wanted him to do. He didn't forgive every bit of student loan debt. He didn't pass trillions for the Green New Deal. He didn't warp the infrastructure bill beyond all regard and make it bigger. He listened to Joe Manchin instead. They're already setting up to throw him under the bus, just so people are aware what the left is doing right now. It's not clear that he'll have enough centrist, I use that term loosely, I understand, allies within the House and the Senate to actually maintain his job. Silver Kestrel, an attempt on Kavanaugh's life, Biden arresting the Michigan GOP frontrunner. Yes, the Michigan GOP frontrunner has been arrested by the FBI for simply being there on January 6th. We're totally not approaching Banana Republic levels of intimidation and suppression at the moment. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. I pray we even make it to the midterms. Oh, we will. We might be in a recession at the moment when that happens. But that just means the Democrats will lose even more. So, once they get rejected, it'll be great. And a lot of those people, keep in mind, are MAGA Republicans. A lot of the non-incumbent GOP that's rising up, they're not allied with Mitch McConnell. They're not allied with the McCarthys and McConnells of the party. They're allied with Trump. They're allied with that side of the party, which means, you can clean house quite literally for the GOP. Mr. Baker, I've been working on writing a novel that would need a lot of research on my part. Any advice on how to get experts interested in interviews? I wouldn't know. It depends on the subject matter. Most of the things that I've ever written or edited are single issue. It's about the occult, religious history, paranormal things associated and allied with that basic theme. I wouldn't know, honestly. Is it about science, experts in linguistics? I'm not sure. I wish I could help more, but I'm not sure. Aaron G sent $5, no comment, thank you. Space Ghost N sent $10 without a comment, thank you as well. Sir Tryhard7 on Twitch is sending an emoji, and I'm not sure which one it is. I think there was what was it here? Just a second. Yeah. Verified news. You are mostly correct. However, the militia is the people, so there is no real differentiation. You're thinking of the term regulars or soldiers. Those would be separate from the militia. Indeed, if a person signs up for the U.S. military, they cease to be a militia member while they're active duty. Seb Knowlton, I'm a California escapee. Have you ever done a video on what sent my home state into a post-apocalyptic XJW hellscape? All the best. It was the arrival of a bunch of leftoids, especially in the San Francisco, the Bay Area, during the 80s, if I remember correctly. This happened to Vermont as well. Vermont was rock-ribbed Republican until the Clinton era. Most people don't realize how quickly things can change within politics. They think it's unidirectional, because they never studied anything about political history or civics. Then they try to lecture me on why I should be black-pilled like they are. It's really funny. Someone you may know. Thoughts on Canada's new gun legislation? Heard the gun sales suddenly went through the roof. Yes, I saw the other day that there were 40,000 or so applications for handgun ownership backed up by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. 40,000. I don't believe the legislation has yet passed, but unfortunately, if it does, a lot of those people won't get their gun because I don't imagine there are enough guns to actually service them all. And of course, if they don't get it by the time that the legislation is enacted, assuming that it is, they're fucked. They should all buy more guns anyway. Gary Jean, with redistricting and the Democrats ousting Republican candidates, us Michiganers are worried about the state elections. Oddly enough, Whitmer is in the toss-up list as far as the gubernatorial races go. Make sure to go out and campaign. Don't just vote. I want you to get together with other people that understand Whitmer is a cunt and go knock on doors, put up stickers, put up billets, do whatever you have to do. Maybe heckle at a speech, legally, of course, and make sure she's driven out of office. Get rid of her. If you get a Republican governor or an independent or whatever, then you can weather the storm more easily. Inky, Stick, sending love to you and your family. Hope baby's doing well. Yeah, she's napping upstairs at the moment with Liz. Also, I think we might be at 8 Biden loser units at the moment. That's pretty good considering that it's still a weekday and it's only 8 o'clock Eastern. Considering 75% of all my viewers are Americans. Salty Keldian, you may enjoy Metal Church. Their 1984 self-titled album is quite good. I used Gods of Wrath as an alarm clock tone for several years. Didn't even know that was a band. I thought you were making some sort of meme reference, actually. I'll have to look them up. It's always possible that I've heard their music before, but because I've heard so much, I forgot the band name too. Space Ghost N sent $100, but he didn't send a comment. You could have put anything you wanted up there and it would stick there for like 10 minutes, dude. What are you doing? But I do thank you for the money. That'll buy a lot of diapers. That's what I like to see. It's costly, trust me. You have no idea how many Pampers you go through. You look at a pile of Pampers and you think, oh, I've got a mountain of diapers. I've got a lifetime supply. No, you've probably got like a month's supply, and that's if you're lucky. You might go through one of the bigger bags in a single week, just to be clear. Splank, midterms are hopefully going to be a huge rebuke of Biden's asterisk presidency and the Dems at large. We can't let up now. I think that it will be. I can't imagine any scenario in which the Democrats retain the House. I can't imagine at this point any scenario in which the Republican majority isn't at least somewhat bigger than the Dem majority is currently. I can't imagine that they take a clear majority in the Senate, although they may actually maintain a 50-50. Just to be clear, we should be focusing almost more on the Senate. The House is sort of a foregone conclusion. If the Democrats have a 50-50 Senate, they can still get through a SCOTUS justice. That could be a problem. Of course, there are several conservative justices that are in their 70s. If, however, they lose just 2 Senate seats, Mitt Romney, of course, is not principled in any way. All of a sudden it becomes impossible and the Biden administration is mortally wounded, completely crippled. Glow in the dark, NRA, it is Nerf or nothing. Yeah, pellet guns and Nerf guns and shit. That is the NRA. Zero Fan Mab over on Twitch says, Sticks, every time Klaus Schwab's name is uttered, I think of cotton swabs. I picture Schwab swabbing his ears. Small wonder he disgusts me. That's interesting imagery. I don't want to think about that anymore. Lady Blah Blah saying, Ge felicitiert de baby, so lief. I'm probably mispronouncing that some. I can read Dutch fairly well. Pronouncing it and speaking it, totally different story. HM, do you feel there's an end in sight to inflation, rising gas prices, or do you think this will continue as long as the Biden admin is in office? It'll continue for some time. I don't know how long. It's impossible to say. I would say that if inflation, and we'll be covering this in a moment, that's another news story we got to cover. If it goes up much further, eventually you get stagflation and joblessness begins to rise because people can't afford as many goods, so businesses downsize. Supply and demand, they have to readjust for lower demand. And so there's going to be a lower supply. Boy, oh boy, will that be a fun time. We'll be right back in the 1970s Jimmy Carter era. Kate Bush, by the way, is trending right now. She's at the top of the charts with running up that hill because of that fucking show Stranger Things. And I'm thinking, I wish that everything else were like the 80s instead of 1978. That'd be so wonderful if only Trump had been honk honk reelected instead of Biden winning by 81 million votes. It'd feel like the late 80s right now. Splank, thoughts on neutering the Supreme Court? I believe that there should be some methodology to force them to take cases, and there should be various safeguards on SCOTUS power. But generally speaking, I hate to tell you this, but the judiciary in some cases is more cerebral than the legislature, so I don't get into it so much. And another reason why you know that I'm not Razor Fist. He really has a hate boner for the SCOTUS. I a little bit less on my end, though they make a lot of mistakes too. Anyway, we'll go to inflation. Link in the description again for all of you following along. We're now, how many Biden loser units are we at the moment? It's a shit ton of them. 400, yeah, we're almost at 9 Biden loser units. By the way, we have a super chat over on Rumble, $100 again from Dorkmo. Thank you very much. Hey, YouTube kids, come over to Rumble. We'll give you a big sloppy kiss. A lot of people are leaving YouTube lately. Did you see what they were, what was it, Act Man, I think it was? He was getting fucked sideways for a joke he made on Twitter, not even on YouTube, about doxing, which was clearly satirical, and he lost his ability to monetize based on a joke on an entirely different platform. Very interesting, because I forgot the part of the TOS where it said they policed offsite behavior like Patreon does. Journey Trails Enjoy. How can we trust the voting? I think the tech companies have ruined the trust of elections for me. In most states, they've defortified. What I would say is that it's important, I think, to try to push for paper-only ballots, an abolition of mail-in ballots for any purpose, with the exception of legitimate absentee. So they're in the military. They're doing a diplomatic thing. They're a linguist working with a foreign company. They can't get back to the U.S. to vote. Okay, we'll give them an absentee ballot. They're currently in the hospital. They lost both their legs in an accident. There's a medical reason. Other than that, nobody should have an absentee ballot. They should go in person and cast their ballot. It should be hand counted, and it should be a piece of paper. It shouldn't be digital. And that's the only voting that's legitimate in my mind. I find it very, very funny how all of the leftoid media, all of the legacy media sites were constantly reporting on the vulnerabilities of voting machines. And then all of a sudden in 2020, those vulnerabilities were disclaimed completely and considered irrational. I'm just pointing that out. I'm not making any further claims, YouTube. I'm just pointing out a little bit of a differentiation in news coverage over time. Cooter Brown, why is it so hard for people, including Tim Pool, to believe the election was? I can't read the rest of that, but other people can if they would like to. Yeah, Hong Kong, it was totally legitimate. 81 million scoops of ice cream. Journey Trials Enjoy. At what point will people be unable to drive to work? I mean, imagine that you commute for, an hour. Some people do. I think it's stupid to do so unless you have to, but imagine you use 3 gallons of gasoline during the day to go to and from work. Okay, well, you're paying probably good hour's wage if you're in a working class job. Just to go to work, you're paying a significant amount. Stuart, Sticks, I'm looking for a girlfriend into heuristic paganism. I got nothing, dude. I'm a boy, and I'm married, so. I'm spoken for as a pagan. Anyway, we'll get to inflation. Here's an interesting, again, link in the description. I got a little bit sidetracked here. U.S. inflation forecast to have accelerated in May. Guess by how much? By about 0.7 instead of 0.3. That means that the slight lowering of inflation that you had month over month for April, forget about it. It'll be completely wiped out. And keep in mind, in some cases, when we get inflation updates, when they get the preliminary data and they tell you what the expectations are, most often the expectation is that it won't be as bad as it has been. Only a couple of times over the last year have the expectations actually paced behind, ahead of what happened. And the inflation data is actually a little bit better. Joblessness follows the same basic pattern. If they say we added 500,000 jobs in a preliminary estimate, chances are it's less than that. Only a couple of times has it been more. And when it is more, the legacy media, naturally, it's front page news across them all because the Biden White House tells them, quick, get this story out and focus on it for the next 2 or 3 days. Shit, man, we need to circle the wagons here. If the various forces that are in the know because they shape fiscal policy are preemptively admitting that inflation will go up by near a point I believe that would take it about 9% inflation. It could be worse than that. At some point, again, we're in a recession. That plus any increase in joblessness over the coming months would be a disaster. It would be the death knell of Bidenomics, by the way. Thankfully, it will probably die off and be, the Biden administration already, if it were to culminate today, would be remembered as basically an afterthought, a placeholder administration. Nobody's going to be building statues to Joe Biden because the only reason that he was elected or selected was because Orange Man bad. That's really the only reason. He's a goddamn failure and a con man. Has been his entire life. He's an inbred pinhead piece of trash. Stuart, is there a forum for fellowship? Pagan fellowship? I'm sure there are neo-pagan forums. You might try out like the Asatru Assembly or something like that. Got one of their books on pagan linguistics, I think. Verified news. SCOTUS has ruled that you can't be forced to waive one right to exercise another. How many rights do you waive when you apply for a gun permit? Even a stupid person should be able to name at least one. Yeah, certainly. The Fourth Amendment would definitely come to mind. The First Amendment, technically speaking, and the second is the no-brainer. I like to go beyond that, though, because a lot of what they're suggesting with gun control right now violates the 14th and Fourth Amendments as well, just as much, if not more. The right of an 18-year-old to get a gun being countermanded would put them at a disadvantage over a citizen who's 21, violating equal protection. Technically, it violates the Fourth Amendment as well. And technically the 10th Amendment, because most states have not passed such a ban on individuals owning guns. It would be an attempt to exert federal supremacy over state law. Could probably go through and figure out that it countermands other rights as well. Kyle Miller, please go on Timcast. I want to see how tall you are compared to Tim and the rest of the crew. I am 6'2", so unless Ramsey Paul gets on, apparently he's 6'3" or 6'4", which I didn't know. Did you know this? He's a fucking giant. He played basketball. Unless he's on there alongside me, I think it'd probably be the tallest person there. I will go on Timcast when I'm back in the U.S., and we might get swatted during the broadcast. I think this is the 7th or 8th time it's happened to the poor dude, but we'll see. Cyberchrist also sending $100. Thank you very much. Another mountain of diapers to last quite some time. Gun confiscation and incrementalism will lead to democide by an elite cabal which views the masses as deprecated vestige to be replaced by AI and robotics. The veil of democracy is close to being cast away. The American Caesar will assume power within the decade. I would disagree with you. We've had semi-automation for a long time and full automation of some things now for decades. I don't think that people will be replaced because if there are no people to abuse, those elites would get mighty bored. They'd just be reigning over some robots that would continuously pump out goods with no one to buy them. I think rather it will be worse. It'll be more dystopian. Hear me out. I think what happens is they keep up the facade of freedom, the facade of democracy, etc. We're seeing it right now in many political races. They don't care about what the general election result is. This was the case in 2016. This is why Trump won. The legacy establishment political forces that be don't rig general elections. Honk, honk, of course. There's never been a modern example of that happening. They rig primaries. They make sure that the person who is running against the other person, they're both controlled opposition. If they're both controlled opposition, the same people, the same elites control them both, who cares who wins? Of course, you can have a total democracy. Let people fight it over in the streets if they want to, because it doesn't matter who wins. Obama versus Romney. Obama versus McCain. Bush versus Kerry or Gore. Same fucking shit over and over again. Just controlled opposition. Ultimately, all roads lead to the same destination. The one time that we've had a more or less independent candidate in recent memory, post first-term Reagan. I believe first-term Reagan was as well. He sort of shot out of the middle of nowhere and underwhelmed the Carter that had been running double digits ahead for most of the election. He managed to win anyway. They quickly co-opted him. He got demented and they controlled him. Trump was independent. I think the real problem is the Chinification of the U.S. social system. That is, China has the same facade. Technically, they have elections, but there's only one party to choose from. The only difference in the U.S. is you've got a two-party system. Many of those people in those two parties, though, they're controlled opposition. This is why people need to get civically involved and make sure to knock on doors and shit to promote candidates that are actually independent, as opposed to the old dross of the establishment. Don't be proud to be a Democrat or a Republican or any member of any other party. Don't be proud to be a member of the Libertarian Party. Be proud to have supported someone that you can actually vouch for having good ideas, for actually not being controlled opposition, a fucking glowy or something like that. That's what you need to do. The Chinification is the facade of a free market. China has that. Their economy does well under it. It's just that the little people don't. They have a facade election system. They have a facade free speech. They have facade human rights. What's the U.S. moving towards right now? It's the same fucking shit. They're not going to pull back the curtain and expose the blank wall behind it unless they have to. They'd rather give people bread and circus. It keeps them easier to control. If the people feel that they are willing participants in the system, it is easier to exploit them. Journey Trials and Joy. Do expect mass layoffs by September or November. Maybe not mass layoffs, but I expect unemployment to begin rising fairly soon. It could be as early as August, actually. It doesn't need to wait till September. I think there will be some problems economically, and we will hit a stagflationary cycle. Aspartame brain tumor. Have $1 for every housefly you've had to deal with in the past 24 hours. Thank you very much. I do have an electric fly swatter thing down there, but I find it easier to just ping them like this. You wait till they land on a surface and you very slowly, you creep up to them, ping, and usually it fires them across the room and then you can fucking crush them. Sometimes I don't have the heart to do it though, because I'm like, well, I mean, it's still alive and I'm not going to eat it. So I don't know. I wish the cats would do their job. It'd be a lot easier. Imposter Oak. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. I remember Imposter Oak, the Pokemon card. I think it was a pretty good one, actually, from the very, very early era of Pokemon. It's funny, Gen Z likes Pokemon as much as millennials. None of them probably can name the original 150. 151 if you include Mew, of course. We have another chat over on Rumble. Midwest Gunnar. Hot off the presses. Consumer prices rise 8.6 in May, highest since 1981. I am going to fact check this. Did we get inflation news while we were live? Yes, indeed. He is correct, sir. Yes, inflation is now at 8.6%. How lovely. Yeah, so it went off, it's a little bit less, actually. It went up only by 0.3. I'm sure that the Biden administration will probably be putting out a presser. Well, inflation rose less than some experts predicted, thanks to Biden's sound fiscal policies. And it'll probably go up next month as well. By the way, this fulfills something that I predicted, which is that the slight downturn in inflation from April, which was by 0.2, so it doesn't really matter, was bullshit. It was a temporary lull, and it was basically it's just the equivalent of stabilization. So yeah, going up to 8.6. How lovely. Inflation in May was forecast by some economists to be 8.2%, while so-called core inflation was expected to slow further. Core inflation does not include food and energy, as these goods are subject to volatile prices. You haven't seen food prices yet. My goodness, another prediction of mine will come true in the next 3 months. When the fertilizer price and the oil price combine into a slurry of bad economic data, and the farms begin to pull in their harvest, and the farmers start doing their math. They start tallying how much it cost to grow the fucking corn, to grow the fucking okra. And as those goods get transported, and that costs even more because of diesel fuel, and the harvesters do too, gas and diesel and so forth. And as they realize how much it costs to feed the pigs, to feed the cows, to feed the livestock in general, prices are going to soar out of sight. You should just be buying a bunch of food now. Make sure to get all of your staple, like vegetables and grains and shit. Get like 100 pounds of rice or something and a bunch of beans and shit. Get your basic necessities that you can combine with just some basic seasoning and at least have like a half-rate meal, something that will fill you up even if it doesn't taste great. Get it now because it's going to cost twice as much in a few months, dude. You think inflation is a funny thing right now? Oh boy, you ain't seen nothing yet. And it won't just be the United States. I hate to tell you this, but the U.S. exports a shit ton of meat and grains to other countries. And the grains often get used by other countries. What? Cattle. Well, there's your milk. There's your beef. Pork. Chickens. There's your eggs too, by the way. Their prices are soaring out of sight. 8.6% inflation. Thank you for the news tip, by the way. Simeon McGrath. See the inflation? 8.6%. Yes, just covering that. Yeah, I see it now. I didn't expect it to be today. I think usually it's released on the 14th, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, though. Don't quote me on that. Sorta retard. Sticks, is the U.S. Constitution actually a contract? Are states like California worthy of federal military protection if they won't enforce federal laws like customs and enforcement? They're worthy of military protection because that's federal level. That's fine. But they should be made to actually enforce laws. With some exceptions, if the law is blatantly unconstitutional, like federal gun laws, federal drug laws, those shouldn't be enforced. The state should ignore them out of hand completely. And if the federal government has a problem with it, they should be told to fuck themselves. Yeah, Zero Fan Map. Today's math is laughable. Gasoline nearly doubles and still TPTB insists that inflation is at 8%. Well, 8.6. Yes, but gas, I think, is figured separately in some cases. This is just price gouging, says Elizabeth Warren. I mean, that'll be the other thing. They'll say that there's just price gouging going on. By the way, everyone, please do not send any more super chats. I've got a few more to get through, and we're running up on 50 minutes. So at some point, I've got to have a snack, take a break, drink some lime water. I forgot to mix it up earlier, so big problem. Seb Knowlton, Psyduck was the best. The only one with a hangover. El Gringo, my 13-year-old knows the OG 151 Pokemon. I got her the yellow version and a Game Boy Color. Excellent. I liked Pokemon Red, actually, more. I liked Red over Blue because, I like the color better. The yellow was, it's basically the same as Red and Blue, but with some different Pokemon, and then Pikachu follows you around. Unless you trade Missing No into the system, which you could do single person if you had the Game Boy, Super Nintendo. What was it? What am I thinking of? There was an attachment. I totally forgot. I think there was an attachment, and then you could use Pokemon Stadium to swap with yourself if you had 2 cartridges. I did it somehow. I can't remember. It's been so many years. And you get Missing No in there, and then Pikachu would disappear and stop bothering you all the fucking time. Daily Murphy, Tarl, in response to yesterday, I would have went with a tuna melt, preferably one that wasn't irradiated by the Fukushima reactor. Tuna melts are delicious. Although you'd probably cook it with the elephant's foot at at Chernobyl. Let's see. Maddington, saying my wages are up when inflation is 8.6 is like saying I'm losing weight if I had stage 4 cancer. Yeah, it's an apt Conclusion. By the way, I think we're at 10 Biden loser units, actually a little bit higher. There's more than 3,000 people watching cross-platform. It's pretty great for this time of day on a weekday. Splank, if anyone is looking to fill up cheap gas, I recommend hit up Taco Bell. Andy 6 reference, vaguely. The Grizzly, hey Sticks, what do you think of the arrest of Michigan GOP candidate? I don't think we'd get to this point, but this is some real tin horn dictatorship stuff. January 6. Yes, I oppose it. I condemn it completely. The FBI is completely out of line. Hopefully, we will hear more about that case. It reminds me of the persecution of Roger Stone, who's still free for a reason, Giuliani, who's still free for a reason, and Trump, who, again, is still free for a reason, even though he's muzzled. Chosen one, only one. Is it possible to be both populist and libertarian? Yes. In fact, the two coexist with regards to border policies. Libertarianism does not mean necessarily anarchy. It can. Some people under the broad tent ideology at large believe in that. There are also classical liberals like myself that do believe in the rights of a native population to be represented by its government and believe simply that that government needs to be much more constrained. It should be absent in most day-to-day encounters. Civic nationalism, 1776. Just put a down payment on an AR-15. Going to pay it off by August. Then I will be a proud owner of an AR. After that, I am going to get a hunting rifle. Well, the AR technically is a hunting rifle, I suppose. Just you can't hunt deer with it in most states legally. Lancer 737. Dems are dumb going after Trump for the January 7 alien invasion. All he said at the rally was, we need help from heaven above. Yeah, please don't send any more super chats here because I got to wrap it up at some point. Drive-by commenter. Do you think content creation will be a non-viable side hustle in this recession? No. Although, you might get less super chats. That's fine. People got to save their money and do what they need to do. I know most of my income comes from books, and they're not particularly expensive, and you're getting something tangible. So I'll ride on that if I need to. I make enough money from that to pay the bills. Malik Artorian, my main man, late congrats on Little Sticks. Just started a job at a lumber mill. Wish me luck and peace out. Good luck. Don't cut your hands off. Remember to remove all rings and tie your hair back. Can you imagine me in a lumber mill? That'd be a little bit difficult. And I'm not doing the man bun fucking shit. Yeah, if you've got a man bun, just cut it off. Just get short hair or something. Don't look ridiculous. Kingly31, you make great content. Thank you to Kingly over on Rumble. Manuel Watrago, because you told me not to. Yes, there's always that one contrarian that literally pays me to own me. I don't mind, though. I'll buy some diapers with that $5 or some more energy drinks. Anyway, I think I'll go off now. We covered all of the insane news. The inflation number is literally coming in while we're live. So now I've probably got to bump another video tomorrow. I was going to do an occult video, and I'm like, well, I guess we've got more political news to cover. Wonderful. And it's Biden. Oh, I'm so surprised. It's Biden failing on the economy. We've never heard any news like that before. At some point, people are going to tune it out just because it's so boring. It's like, what else is new? Talk about something new. Oh, Biden failed. Oh, okay. That's your third video today on the subject. Sometimes I do feel like that, and it's kind of regrettable. That's about all. Peace out.